Hi, everyone. Welcome to this fireside chat titled From Clinics to Code, Bridging Clinical Innovation and Real-World Impact. My name is Vashita Dixit, and I head the operations and delivery for medical communications practice at Indegene. Joining me here today is Dr. Deepshika Thakur, who is a UK-based physician and who has dedicated her career towards care of autistic individuals. A little bit more about Dr. Deepshika. She has over 25 years of experience in the NHS. She's the clinical director and autism lead who's overseeing neurodevelopmental services in Hertfordshire. She has driven innovation and quality improvement within her setup and has received an outstanding leadership award as a clinical director. She's also the regional chair of the East England Autism Development Group and is a part of Hertfordshire Neurodiversity Transformation Board. As a founder of Neuroplex, which is a digital software for autism that she has got in her own practice, she has been able to scale up the diagnostic assessment of autism and ADHD by about 91%. And this she has done without any additional resources. Essentially, her portfolio spans evidence-based practice, frequent presentations that she does at national and international forums, all with the purpose of advancing neurodevelopmental care through collaboration and innovation. I'll let Dr. Deepshika introduce herself.
Thank you, Vashita. Yes, so I am a neurodevelopmental pediatrician, and I've got over 25 years of experience working in the field of pediatrics. I'm currently working as a clinical director, and I have been a consultant for the last 15 years in the NHS. And my future aim is to improve the lives of children and young people diagnosed autistic and their families.
Thank you, Doctor, and very warm welcome to you to this session. So as we navigate the theme of from chaos to clarity, today's session is going to take us right to the intersection of patient care, digital innovation, and data science. It will really tell us how powerful real-world data can be when it is captured and used with purpose. In the session today, we are also going to talk about autism spectrum disorders, a condition which is kind of complex and also often underserved, both in terms of patient care in general, but also in terms of digital innovation. And hence, through Dr. Deepshika's compelling clinical journey, we are going to explore its relevance to life science organizations, but also in terms of healthcare practice in general. During the session today, we'll kind of touch upon three important aspects. One is the motivation behind this digital innovation within Dr. Deepshika's clinical practice, how a tool works and what kind of insights it delivers, and the role it plays in informing real-world evidence, treatment decisions, as well as the potential collaboration that clinicians can have with life science organizations. So without further delay, let's get started. And my first question to you, Dr. Deepshika, is if you could first share what inspired you to specialize in autism spectrum disorders?
Okay, that's a question very close to my heart. And so thank you for picking that question. I feel children and young people have a unique way of experiencing world. And I feel that sometimes they're misunderstood or overlooked. I'm talking about children who are autistic. And I wanted to make a difference in those people's life. I felt if I can make a timely diagnosis, I can provide them with resources and support. And this could make a difference, not only in the lives of the children themselves, but also of the family affected and society as a whole. So the impact is huge. So I felt the uniqueness of children considered autistic, as well as the potential that they bring in, makes me feel like so motivated to work in this field. And I would like to make difference in the lives of people affected with autism.
So such good deep thoughts. Again, building on, we kind of when we introduce a session, we acknowledge that autism is complex, it's underserved as well. So if you could share, what are some of the biggest challenges that clinicians face today when they're treating autism?
Hmm. I would say in the field of autism widely, the biggest challenge that we face is long waiting times. So again, I'm coming from the UK's perspective. Here, there is very long waiting times. There's limited access to multidisciplinary resources in a timely manner as a result of that. And also there could be variability of service provisions, in different places. I also feel there's a challenge of translating the emerging evidence into research, emerging evidence of research into real world. How do we bridge the gap of what we are seeing, what we're experiencing? Um, so basically, clinical sciences versus real world. So I feel these are the main areas I would like to think more about. And these are the challenges I feel in the UK that we face in the field of autism and neurodiversity.
So you mentioned that the waiting times are long, right? If you could just share some more insights into that, why are these waiting times so long?
Okay, yeah, that's a very important question. I think let me take you through some statistics. So the US statistic is astonishing. Something that was completely not known in the 2000s and now has become as high prevalence as 1 in 31. So that's so high incidence or prevalence back from 2000s. In the UK, the prevalence is around considered to be around 1 in 100. I also just want to highlight the statistics or the number in the NHS, which is the National Health Service in the UK. As of June 2025, there were about 250,000 people waiting for a diagnostic assessment of autism. Now, that number is massive. If you go back last year in September 2024 and compare it 2 years ago, the increase was documented as 96% increase. So there is a huge influx of people wanting to get diagnosed for want of self-identity. And we follow the National Institute of Healthcare and Excellence in the UK, and it suggests we should see children, young people within 3 months of being referred to us. But 90% of children are not meeting that target. So these are like huge volumes. So of course, a flurry of increased demand and not enough capacity. It is resource intensive, and we don't have enough funding or capacity. And also the complexity of referral and the assessment process itself lends itself to not like a quick, just 10 minutes consultation. It does require intensive efforts and trained clinicians to be able to safely interpret and diagnose a condition. Hence, we are having very long waiting times in the UK. And I really do want to make a difference by providing good quality assessment, but timely. That's really critical, I feel.
No, honestly, the statistics that you shared, it's surprising. Obviously, it reveals the magnitude of healthcare challenges, which, some people, like I was not aware of these statistics, right? So thanks for sharing that. And we would, of course, want to talk more about this digital platform or the software that you've developed to overcome some of these challenges. But before that, was there a moment or patient experience that inspired you to develop a new digital solution?
Yes, so I would say I always like to think differently, do something new, do something better. So I'm constantly on the lookout for improving things. I started the journey of independent practice and I found, okay, I don't have any means to do the assessments. So I started in a different way. What I vividly remember one day when I sat with my personal assistant and we were just going through the number of patients we had, and it was just getting very challenging. We were not able to keep a tab of where the progression is. Although we were very meticulous, keeping a very good records, it was never dynamic enough for us to say, well, actually, these things have changed. So it was actually more intensive to keep a record of where everything was. And then I thought, okay, maybe there is some digital solution that I can find. I looked around, which was a solution specific to autism and ADHD, and I was struggling to find the right kind of solution. So I decided, well, actually, I can't find, so I must make my own. And that's how Neuroplex was born. And this digital tool has advanced as time has progressed. We are into now, actually, today is the anniversary of its use. So we started 3 years ago, and this will be our fourth year starting. So this is really an exciting time for us to see where this will take us.
Wow, that's inspiring. And first of all, congratulations on that milestone.
Thank you.
So, absolutely amazing. So now coming to the tool itself, if you could just tell us how does it work in that context of autism care, if you could just provide more details, more color
Okay.
to what you
Yeah,
do
that's
and what that
exciting.
is.
So
Yes.
basically, we have a secure end-to-end platform that allows clinician or facilitates clinician to do an autism assessment. It also includes ADHD and other neurodiverse conditions assessment. So you could say, like, you get a knock on the door from the parent wanting to ask, like, oh, I need some help, to the point that, okay, everything is done, we've shared the outcome, and then we send the report out to them. Of course, it also allows for follow ups where it's needed, so we can also have follow ups. So you can call it as a very highly digitalized electronic patient record with extra functionality that makes the process easier for the clinicians. We start by collecting pre-assessment information, and the tools that we use strengthen digital accessibility. So we have different functionalities, like you can speak into it if you don't want to type. As a parent, they might want to just say, I want to speak, and it types for you. It can make it more easy to correct grammar and other stuff, so you don't have to bother much about it. The information is presented to the clinician in such a way that it's actually quite easy to edit and use that, such that we don't have to keep telling the story many a time. So you write it, it's already available, so we can move on to the next step. So you see how the time can be shortened because nothing is repetitive here. The notes, as we take notes, the report starts to get ready. So as you're having the consultation, you're actually preparing the report as well. Now, usually we separate a time out, a different set of time to do the report writing because that's quite lengthy, but it's inbuilt in a way that you can actually take good notes with the special features that we have developed within the system that allows us to move faster to the next step. Another challenge we face as clinicians is gathering information from different sources. So our software allows seamlessly sending out of information requests with parental permission, of course, and then it comes back seamlessly to us. And again, this kind of is building up the report. Appointments are very easy to book. Reports get created with the click of a button. And when you have bulk of patients, so you have more than like 100, 200, any number. In fact, there is no upper limit, but you can see their status at a glance, which means you can say whether they've had assessment A, B, C, D, E, where are they? So you can see with the traffic light coloring that you can see where they are. Have this not been done? So for someone who wants to have a quick overview of all these 100 patients that I'm dealing with, what can I do? It's very easy. And if any action needs to be done, actually there are buttons within the system that allows you to do without having to go into individual case records, opening them up to check their status. So it really gives very clear information all the way around. Our software is evolving. So as I said, we completed 3 years and we are constantly evolving. Our core is, of course, security, but also improving workflows, which are clinician directed and user friendly. And by user, I mean whether it's a parent or young person or a school staff completing the assessment, everybody should find it easy. Whoever the user is at the time of the day, we want to make sure it's user friendly. So, in summary, it's basically an electronic patient record system with powerful technological backing designed by clinician which keeps the user at its heart. That's how I would describe it. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Uh, am I not audible?
You are.
Yeah, okay. So I was just saying that honestly, I see it as a more of an end-to-end clinical practice tool as well, right? The way you described, it starts with a patient coming in, knock at the door is the phrase that you used, versus what kind of reports you need additionally, the follow-ups, the appointments, all of that gets tackled through this one single platform. So kind of really amazing. Now, I'll probably segue a little bit if I could ask another question. I'm sure you're managing multiple patients, right? Or multiple individuals through this tool. So, do you see that the data that gets generated through your AI tool contributing to real world evidence in autism, for example, around treatment patterns, progressions, outcomes in general?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think this is our vision going forward. The data generated by our tool has the potential to contribute meaningfully to the real world evidence in the field of autism and, of course, of ADHD, which are the two primary conditions we address right now. It captures information from different diverse contexts. It can highlight behavioral patterns, track progression over time, and also shed light on the outcomes both at an individual and at a population level. I think that's the beauty of having lots of data come to us that you could analyze for the benefit of the general. Obviously, our aim is not to replace research methodologies, but to complement them. We feel that if we can scale it up or have consistent data gathering, we could actually support our day-to-day practice, and it could make a real impact to patients and also like wider population.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
We
and
have
I
Yeah, sorry. I was going to add that we have got lots of data going on, and I
okay.
just wanted to bring like very basic figures. I touched upon the waiting times and the assessment duration. So um, we are in the UK, for example, the waiting times could be anywhere between 2 years to 5 years for an autism assessment. So, as I said, the numbers are staggering. But with the use of our software, we found our mean time for wait was just 15 days from the start when the patient registered with us to the time they got the first appointment was just 15 days. And the mean assessment duration was actually just over 30 days. So we've compressed the system without the compromise in the quality. And we could do so much better because we have improved technological solutions. And the results of our ability to access to be accessible in a very timely way is shown in the excellent feedback from the families who use our services. They have consistently given very good feedback to us because we provide timely, high quality care, and we don't compromise on the clinicians' time with the families, but we want to give them more. And therefore, I can see how this can be used in future, and we can definitely get more examples, more statistics, more data to enrich our decision making and supporting the whole population.
Honestly, I mean, amazing insights and the difference that you're making in terms of the clinical practice, patient care in itself. But again, building on that, if you could share, some more light on how your tool has changed the patient management, clinical decision making for you and your team. Uh, you know, just build up a little bit more. If you could provide share
Yeah,
some examples, that would be
of
helpful.
course.
Yes.
I think our tool has streamlined the assessment process. The main thing it does, it reduces the administrative burden. Therefore, we are more free as clinicians to interpret, to spend more time with patient care without having to think too much about the administrative burden. I mean, there are other kind of systems that are being used in the digital technology. However, what we have got different and additional is we have got templates and other examples that help the clinician to standardize history every time. So that minimizes the variability. So if whether it's clinician A or B who assesses, every time they are presented with the same framework, which aligns with the standardized national frameworks here, and often using international standards as well to make sure our assessments are robust and based on that every single time. So there is no chances of errors. It will highlight where you've not taken the history. So you don't have to memorize everything. And it lends itself by its ease of use buttons and helps clinicians to, come to the right outcomes. The families benefit because they get the insight quite their vision or their needs are continuous, like a continuum. It's not like, oh, tell me again, they don't have to repeat the story. the user, like the school I said, they are able to securely send the information without worrying about, oh, has it gone, has it reached or not. So it basically, in so many ways, reducing human errors, capturing the data accurately, not having to repeat the story again and again, makes it such a useful tool that has helped everybody in the process.
Sure. Thanks for sharing that. I'm going to now pivot again a little, and I'll ask a question that could be highly relevant to our audience today. Where do you see opportunities for collaboration between this AI-driven clinical tools, such as that of yours, and the life science organizations, the pharma company, the medical device companies, particularly in advancing research or supporting clinical practice?
Hmm. Okay, I think this is a very pertinent question in today's world, with AI technology really overtaking and changing the world by the minute. I feel there's a huge amount of changes happening all the time. I feel AI-driven tools can collaborate with pharmaceutical companies to generate real-world evidence on treatment patterns, outcomes, and trajectories. And this can help us, inform the research, support clinical practices, and the aim should be to deliver patient-centric care, individualized care. I feel the AI platforms and pharmaceutical companies can contribute to shaping the regulatory framework for digital medical devices, for example. I mean, a lot of tools reach the status of a medical device nowadays because of their predictive values or decision making abilities. They need to be registered. As I said, this is the future of the world, and particularly in the field of autism ADHD, I feel this is something very relevant and helpful if we can draw real world data and bridge the gap between our clinical sciences to the life sciences, to just bridge it together and bring the data so that we can make decisions that not only affect individuals, but also the population as such, and contribute more in this field.
No, amazing. I think the way you mentioned some of these tools could be so powerful, as you rightly said. It's the population, but also the individual, highly personalized, care that you could provide uh, to your patients. So thanks for sharing that. Now I'm looking at the time, and I can go on and ask more questions, but just a couple of last questions. What advice would you give to clinicians or innovators who would want to create a AI tool for healthcare?
I would say sky is the limit. Go for it. If you've got an idea, make it work. We can achieve things. So I
Yeah.
definitely would say.
No, that's a great phrase. That's amazing. Uh, my final question is, looking ahead, where do you see technology and automation having the greatest impact in clinical practice, maybe in neurodevelopmental care
Mm.
that you're providing to your patients, maybe over next 5 years? What do you
Mm.
see?
I think I've touched briefly upon that, but I would like to emphasize it has a huge potential to transform neurodevelopmental care. It can compress the documentation time and improve the quality assurance. It can help us provide personalized care, improve the workflow, the operational flow, so that we reduce the bottlenecks. And we can provide continuous pragmatic outcome measures that generate strong evidence base. And it should be aligned with the family priorities, the individual priorities, and we can see this contributing to research and on a bigger level service planning and serving the population as such. This is the way forward with the future.
So thanks for sharing again. And I do see a number of questions coming up on chat. I can pick up one of them before we close the session. Uh, what measures do you take to ensure privacy and ethical use of patient data, especially with vulnerable populations? So that's the question from one of the listeners on the chat. Deepshika, if you
I
could
think
answer
that
that.
absolutely. I think this is a very, very pertinent question. We take data security very, very seriously. We are obviously making sure that we abide by all the regulatory requirements to hold data from vulnerable people. We focus on consent and control at source. We want to have data minimization and purposeful use of data. Our software is secure by its design, so different features like role-based access, audit trails, encryption in transition and rest. So we've taken care of all of that. And what we want is to make sure we follow the governance, legislative requirements by the UK and world over. In fact, it's good to have all standardized regulatory, compliances. So I think that's a really, really great question, and we are very mindful of that.
So thank you so much. I think we'll have to close the session soon. And honestly, it was a pleasure talking to you. It's been inspiring to see your journey. How you've moved from the front lines of clinical care to building software, a platform that tracks patient journeys, identifies patterns, and is also able to generate some of these real world insights. And I believe it has implications across the healthcare ecosystem. So thanks for sharing. And before we end the session, any parting thoughts from you, Deepshika?
Yeah, no, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me for this session. I feel the future is here, and we need to just join forces together to build a better life for individuals and their families who are diagnosed with autism and different forms of neurodivergence. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak about this today.
Thank you so much, and you have a good day. Thanks.